Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Gary Larson. So, Grog, throw the spear, and if he's because he's obviously he's fishing with bait. Anybody in here ever fish with bait? Good. Yeah. So, this I want you to. What was it, like worm or something?
No, we used.
A minnow.
It wasn't anything special.
Oh, it was just a lure.
No, it was bait, but it's like a
Yeah.
or so things like that.
Yeah. So anyway, obviously, the poor. If you're bait, it's not a good thing for you, obviously, but that's how it goes. So some early views. First of all, Darwin. We always talk about Darwin. Humans have evolved from animals, hence the minds of humans and animals are similar in kind, but different in complexity. In other words, Darwin is saying a mind, our brain, is like any other trait, or in this case, a complex one. And all of these traits had shared ancestry. Okay, and then a product with George Romain, evolution of emotions. So invertebrates to humans, right? In other words, animals also might have emotions. Anybody in here have an example of animals that might show emotion? What?
Cat.
A cat. Okay, what kind of emotion?
Like purrs or
Uh-huh.
squeaks.
So purring might show that, let's say, a cat is content. Of course, that's a hypothesis, but the purring is a behavior. We can call it whatever it is, but so some of you might have had animals where one dies and the other one needs therapy after that to deal with the loss, just like humans do. So there was a guy named Loeb. All patterns of behavior are simply forced movements, tropisms, physiochemical reactions toward or away from some stimuli. So you need some stimuli to elicit some sort of behavior, whether that stimuli is, or whether that behavior is innate or not. He disagreed with Loeb, Spencer Jennings. So in other words, Loeb said basically behaviors are kind of fixed. They're innate. And this guy, Herbert Spencer Jennings, he said no. He placed more of an emphasis on variability and modifiability. A behavior modified, in other words, changing environment and having the environment then affect the behavior. So there were different questions, really, in terms of the organism you're using and the different kinds of behavior. Ethology is basically the study of animal behavior. So this is where I was getting at a little bit earlier. They mostly studied innate behavior, and most of this was happening in Europe. With a guy named Lorenz, who you might have heard about, who got geese to imprint on him when they were young. They followed him around like he was their mother. And then there was the comparative psychologists. They usually just used one or two model organisms, whether it was a mouse, it was a fruit fly, It was a rat. And then they asked questions about, in terms of different setups, how they reacted to those different setups, and whether the actual animals would modify their behavior over time, let's say with condition responses and conditioning and all that kind of stuff. So, ethology, it's an evolutionary approach. It's comparative, like we were talking about in terms of, is it a derived behavior, new for this one group, or is it an old ancestral behavior that we're dealing with? And there was a guy named Tinbergen, amazing fellow. Both he and Lorenz actually shared a Nobel Prize in physiology. Even though it's a little stretched to think about behavior in terms of physiology, but obviously, if you break it down, we're all getting stimuli coming into us. Our brain is excluding a lot of it. Right now, most of your attention is on me. Some of you are probably maybe fooling around with, on the internet or something like that. It's fine, I don't care. So, Tinbergen came up with 4 questions. What are the mechanisms that cause it? So, what's a mechanism for a baby sucking? What initiates it, do you think? It's hungry. Okay, anything else? Hormones, absolutely. The nipple itself, right? Neurons. All of these are actual mechanisms. In fact, when we talk about behavior, there's a whole train of mechanisms. Since we're highly visual creatures ourselves, a lot of the initial stuff is our recognizing our environment and different cues that then stimulate us to act certain ways, right? So if a big monster came in here, it'd be my job to protect you all. I don't know. I guess I'm old enough, it doesn't really matter anymore. I could lay down my life for you. Of course, if you remember about kin selection, it's not a good idea. But I have to tell you, I only have a sister, and I really don't like her very much. So I'm more likely to not to save her. She's a Republican in Alabama. It's difficult to me to even talk about it. Anyway, okay. So, mechanisms. Now, in addition to, oftentimes we're not just born with a fully developed behavior, let's say talking. Chat, 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 chat. It takes a while to develop, right? In fact, it's a very long process, and if you've ever known, let's say, developmental biologists, let's say looking at childhood psychology, little kids, they go through these stages. There's usually differences in terms of when they happen, but all roughly in the same place, same time. Depending, of course, if they've got maybe some problems and things might be delayed, they might never, so there's some autistics out there that they never talk. Okay, so mechanisms and how they develop. So now, what's its survival value? Well, let's think about this. It's not just a survival value, it's actually how many offspring you actually, or how many, the proportion of genes you leave to the next generation. Natural selection, or it doesn't have to be, it can be, drift or whatever. But anyway, they say survival value could also be, of course, your some animals breed more successfully than others. It's not survival. In fact, oftentimes the animals that breed more successfully have shorter survival because actually having the trait that makes them appealing also reduces their survival. You guys, there's some people in here. Anybody in here who's a bad boy? Come on. You can lie. Good. Okay, you're a bad boy. Good. Excellent. So, now, it turns out being a bad boy actually tells prospective mates something about you. Tells them that you're stupid. No. It tells them that if you risk things like driving a car really fast, holding up grocery stores, and get away with it, you actually that might be an indication of good genes. Now, so you're going to get lots of people to mate with. You want bad girls, or all girls for that matter, to come and mate with you. Of course, the fact that you act this way, oh, you're going to steal other people, other guys, girlfriends, because, women are so flighty, they just really can't concentrate on. That's what the Bible says anyway. Don't trust women, it says. Very specific. I think what it is a projection. The men know how they are, and they're projecting on women how they think they are, when in truth, they're not. But they've got to, that's why, you tie them up and you don't let them go outside and stuff like that. Okay, so anyway, the trouble is, you steal someone's girlfriend, and they shoot you. Okay, now, in the meantime though, if you had sperm, and you had impregnated a whole bunch of different women, your fitness would be huge. Okay, Genghis Khan, you can still see his genes spread throughout Central Asia. Even, Alexander the Greek, same sort of thing. Okay, they were magnificent men, high quality partners. Of course, they didn't go around and say, oh, do you find me attractive? No, they just grabbed them and had sex with them. But, that's a strategy that works for some people. And then for other people, they end up in jail. They still have sex, but they don't usually have offspring from that. So, we'll talk about survival value, but it's really about fitness. Okay, and then how did that evolve? And here we are with the comparative method. Is that an ancestral trait, or is it a derived behavior? So we might say, in terms of humans, well, we have a lot of derived behaviors that other great apes don't have. We also have, great apes in general also have shared traits in terms of ancestral. So we don't use shared traits to differentiate between different great apes because they all don't have tails. So how did it evolve? And do you have this trait because of ancestry, or do you have this trait because the lineage you're in evolved a new variation on the trait? So here's anybody in here bring their loved one candy on Valentine's? How about a diamond ring? Nothing? Nothing? No romance? What are you? You guys are losers. You're not going to ever breed. Oh my God. Oh, by the way, anybody in this class who gets pregnant, sorry guys, unless you can prove that you're the one that, impregnated her, they get an automatic A. Okay? Just so you know, because I want all of you guys to actually have a high fitness, and you might as well start now. I mean, you're not getting any younger. What? How long? By the end of the semester, I have to know.
How long do they have to be pregnant?
Oh, no, you just have to show me that they're pregnant. Okay? Okay. So, just so you know, anybody that happens, you're good. You don't even have to come back to class. I just think that, first of all, you're way beyond me. I'm one of the walking dead. And that doesn't mean I'm a zombie. I'm that too. But I have no offspring whatsoever. I'm Uncle Mo to a lot of kids and older now, but beyond that, none. So, anybody in here have kids? Okay. Well, it's time to get to work. Okay. So, anyway, the reason I bring this up, have you ever heard of nuptial gifts? Anybody who hasn't heard of nuptial gift? Okay. So, a nuptial gift is like bringing your boyfriend or your girlfriend, let's say, a box of chocolates. It's a gift to the female to show that he can afford it. In fact, the bigger the gift, the better the indicator that this male is extraordinary. Okay? So, if he comes along and, let's say, gives his girlfriend a diamond ring that's worth, let's say it's 20 carats, it's worth $1.5 million. You can't cheat on that, right? Well, I guess you could. You could go out and rob a jewelry store, but anyway, for the most part, you have to be rich. So this is part of the handicap principle that you've probably all heard about in the past, where it's an honest signal of quality. Okay, so these are these flies, Hilera sartor, and the male is carrying this gift. Let's see. It's actually, well, it's deceptive here. Now, it turns out that ancestors of these flies actually brought something to the female as a gift, as food. And then, while she was eating, they copulated with her. And the bigger the gift, the longer they got to copulate. That's why you always want to bring a really, really, really big gift. Either way. It turns out, though, for some reason, this behavior of bringing things, well, the stimulus is actually bringing it to the female, and they're actually being deceptive now. The female isn't getting anything, but she's still going to copulate with them. Okay? So, in this case, with this species, a derived trait is the fact that the female still responds to the gift, but it's just basically a silken thing with nothing inside it. Now, of course, males usually bring a gift because that food is going to help produce offspring, resources for offspring. So the more resources, that's why they get to copulate longer. But in this case, this fly, for some reason, it got short-circuited. You would expect, actually, that the female would have some sort of counter defense against such a thing, antagonistic coevolution. Every time a male comes along and tries to deceive her, and, she kicks him out or something like that, but it hasn't happened yet. So, it says the evolution of this function of behavior can be understood by comparing the behavior of closely related species, that by using the comparative method anyway, that's what we were talking about. And it turns out the whole lineage, initially the ancestral state was bringing a real gift. Okay, let's see. I guess we'll take a little break, and then we'll start on the next part of the class. and I'll be back. I went to a place, by the way, this summer where people aren't animals. Okay? And I'm going to show you how that's possible. So I'll be right back. Yeah, you don't have, you're not required to do the first thing.
I just wanted to make sure, because I saw those part of the
Yeah, well, what'll happen is if you'll do it like a review. Okay, something like that, but I think you're missing out. What other, bird?
Yeah.
Oh, the body.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, no, that's fine. Okay, no, don't worry. Hey, Jesse. Good. So Jesse's, the field studies, he might help him. That way, if I fall down a mountain, he picks me up and carries me back up. So things like that. I don't know if he'll pick you back up. You'll have to make that arrangement with him. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about it. I turn off my iPad.